What's up, everybody? Thank you so much for listening. I wanted to put this in the top of the show. Make sure you subscribe on Patreon, patreon.com/Brennan Tassif. Check out the merch store at brennantcomedy.com to get your ex-drinking buddy merch. Subscribe, rate, and review wherever you listen to podcasts. As always, we're coming to you live from Gotham Production Studios, and I hope you enjoy the episode.
Grab me a beer and grab me a coke. We bout to sit for an hour, bullshit and tell jokes. And please don't mix it up, cause he done sobered up. Brennan Comedy on your social media feeds. And Brennan Tassif is your ex-drinking buddy. Brennan Tassif is your ex-drinking buddy. Brennan Tassif is your ex-drinking buddy. Brennan Tassif is your ex-drinking buddy.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into another edition of Brennan Tassif is your ex-drinking buddy. There's going to be a graphic there. I'm your host, Brennan Tassif. If you're new to the program, quick rundown of the show. I used to be everyone's favorite drinking buddy. It was my favorite thing to do. Hang out with friends, get drunk, do drugs, get in all sorts of trouble, and then reminisce about those crazy stories. I'm sober now, but that is still one of my favorite things to do, hang out with friends and reminisce about the crazy days. Most weeks I will be joined by some guests. This week is no exception. All the way from New York City, doing a crossover from the Power of How podcast, Daniel Tirado and Matt Fulchiron.
This is amazing. Like, this is...
Who are you?
Your hosting personality.
I love it.
Your hosting personality is so...
Which I get no credit for.
Is so bigger than your co-hosting personality.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm here for it, as the kids say. I'm enjoying this.
I love it.
Because for the audience that doesn't know, we were just we were just taping an episode of our other podcast,
The Power of How. Check it out.
which is way more chill.
Yes.
And oh man, we're in fucking third gear already.
Yeah.
This is like fucking cold water and an extra shot of espresso.
It was like a light switch. It was amazing.
You saw that? I went 3, 2, 1, and then boom. So for everybody who is watching, who's listening, we have started a new podcast called The Power of How about mental health and positive outlook on life. And I wanted to do a crossover and bring you guys into the ex-drinking buddy world. Matt's been on quite a few times, but Daniel's never been on.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. And we wanted to promote the new podcast and kind of talk about how we got to this point and everything like that, but also some fun drinking stories. Matt alluded to one earlier. I know Daniel's got... This guy met Michelle Pfeiffer one time, so we want to talk about that.
That was alcohol fueled for sure. And
no alcohol.
I have a whole list here of
Do you really?
Drunken atrocities.
Really?
Yes, right here.
Oh,
I did my homework.
I appreciate that.
For ex-drinking buddy.
Well,
because I'm 12 days without drinking.
That's what I wanted to talk about.
And I'm not sober. I still smoke some weed from time to time. I hate the term California sobriety, so I don't use it.
Yeah.
I just say the long version. But I've made the spread, man. I was in a lot of discomfort. I was moody last week up until a couple days ago.
Yeah.
And now I feel good. I'm to the point where I don't really miss it. And it doesn't even cross my mind. I went to pick up a check at Gotham on Friday night, and I was like, well, I'm going to go to, and I had like an hour to kill, and I'm like, well, I'll just go to Jake's Saloon for,
Right.
You must know that feeling.
That is, so that is something that happens to me quite often, especially because I work so close to the stand, so a lot of times I just go there after work, and if it's crowded, it's like, I guess I'm just going to sit in the corner and eat a pizza by myself because like I don't drink. So it's like I can't cozy up to the bar and like drink with people or anything. So it's like I guess I'm just and I don't want to waste the seat at the bar by just drinking water. So it's like, well, I guess I'll just get food in the corner alone.
Now, do you take anything or do anything else?
No,
or that's it.
The only thing that I do that would kind of teeter on anything would be my pre-workout because it's got some stimulants in it. But that's the only thing that you like. If someone was like very strict, they'd be like, "Hey, you can't do that." But that's my pre-workout's got a lot of caffeine and a couple stims in it.
Your theory is as long as you're not drinking and doing mind-altering drugs, that you're good.
Yeah, and that's another big thing too, is because my people often say, because I'm diagnosed bipolar, so people are always like, "Well, don't you take the medication?" And I tell people this all the time because my diagnosis it's not a severe one, like it's not debilitating. So I'm always like, I'd rather live with the outbursts of rage or the outbursts of sadness because they give you tramadol, which turns you into a zombie.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't want to take that. It's the same thing with my anxiety and stuff. People are like, oh, why don't you take what you're prescribed? It's like, because then I'm not me. Like, I don't, and I'll abuse the hell out of it. So it's like, I just don't, I don't do anything.
I've always felt that way, and I've questioned that in recent years. I never wanted to get on any kind of like drugs that would be prescribed by a psychiatrist.
Yeah.
And then I'm also the same guy who will drink a 6-pack and smoke a ton of weed.
Well, yeah. And
So
that's the thing.
that's like an inappropriate medication.
My reasoning
what I'm doing.
is, my reasoning is because of my addictive person. Like when it comes, like if you are obviously disclaimer, if you are prescribed like antidepressants or anti-anxieties or anything by a doctor and you can take them like they're prescribed, then of course do that.
Yeah.
My problem is I can't.
Right.
Like I was prescribed Klonopin at one point and they're like, oh, it's time release, so you only have to take 1 in the morning. I'd be at like 4 by lunch.
Wow.
And I'm like, let's go.
So
It's a party now.
Not drinking, sobriety's easy.
so how do you deal with the outbursts? Do you know when they're coming? Or
Yeah,
do you
and
know...
we talked about it on The Power of How. Everybody check that out. The
On
Power of How
iTunes
podcast.
or wherever you
Yeah.
get your podcast.
That's literally on everything. The Power of How podcast .buzzsprout.com. So, and we've talked about that before. Sometimes Was I a Dick is I'll have an outburst and then I immediately recognize it and I will apologize. It's the anger that gets me in trouble though. It's not the sad, like I cry constantly and everyone's just like, stop being such a bitch. But
Right.
like, it's the anger where I'm like, are you like, and I snap at somebody at work and then immediately I'll be like, my bad. Like,
Yeah.
didn't mean to do that. I've actually gotten a lot better in the last 5 years being sober of catching it before it happens.
Right. Well, if you yell at us, make sure you do it on mic.
Yeah.
So then we have an
absolutely.
exciting episode.
Right? Well, that's the clip. But I can feel it coming. Like it happened to me last night at work. Me and Chef, I was a little frantic because my table's appetizers were taking a while. So I asked the manager to check on it. And I've got the reputation of like, oh, Brennan's freaking out. So she went back there and was like, hey, Chef, Brennan's freaking out. Where of his appetite? So then when I went back to the kitchen, Chef was like, hey, man, you're like, and yelled at me, scolded me in front of the whole staff. He's like, you're not the only table. Like, you need to relax. And I hadn't even spoken to him. And immediately, I was like, I'm going to fucking burn this whole place down. I was like, I'm going to start screaming. And I'm like, I felt it coming. And I go, no.
I felt it coming
And
out.
I literally, what we were just talking about on The Power of How, I turned around and I was like, yes, Chef. And I turned around and I walked out.
Right.
And then I, took a couple deep breaths and I went back in. And I was like, listen, I wasn't even freaking out. I was just asking her to check on it. It's just, I've got this reputation of like, But now with my bipolar, I can definitely feel it coming. And sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes I feel it coming and I go, we're going with this.
Sure.
Like fucking, where's my flamethrower?
You're riding the wave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it is weird not.
It's weird calling someone chef.
It's so,
me-
dude,
that to
I'm
me
so
is just-
accustomed
yeah.
to. I'm so ingrained in it.
After I
Yeah.
saw that show, The Bear, I
Yeah.
think it's like the coolest thing. And it was a weird moment in my life where I'm around kitchens all the time working in comedy clubs. Never thought anything about it. And then after watching that show, I'm like, dude,
You see it.
they're like a society just like
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
a society.
Yeah.
Like I'm
Right.
talking about comics, stand-up comics. Like they're like renegades, outlaws. They don't live by
Right.
society standards either.
At all,
and I'm
yeah.
like, oh, that's kind of cool. And they're so under the radar. Like not even I saw it, and I walk through kitchens all the time.
Yeah.
And now when I walk through, I don't want to meet the other comics. I'm like looking at the chefs like, what's up? And I think that chef thing is so cool.
That was one of the cool things about The Bear. So I've worked in a lot of different restaurants, some fancier than others, where there is chef, and that is the executive chef, that is the chef de cuisine, it's his kitchen. And then I've also worked in restaurants, and this is what I liked about The Bear was it's a mutual respect for everyone in the kitchen. So you call everybody chef.
Right.
Like there is
I
the
like
chef
that.
de cuisine,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
is the head chef, but everyone is chef. Yes, chef, no chef, absolutely chef. And that's what he does on The Bear.
He
If you
does in The
remember,
Bear, and they're not like sophisticated like him. They're not.
they're line cooks.
Yeah, and so when he starts calling them chef, they're like, "What the fuck?" And one even calls him Jeff back. Okay, Jeff.
Yeah.
You know,
Right,
like
right,
kind of
right.
like, "What the fuck?"
Because they
is
don't
this?"
understand it.
But then, like after a while, they're like, they start to appreciate
Yeah.
it, and they
Right.
start to like it.
The restaurant I work in now, which I never mentioned the name, but it's a swankier steakhouse, and they run it like that. Everyone
Yeah,
is chef.
yeah.
If anyone handles food, you treat them with respect and you address them as chef. And that's how it is. And I like that because working in some of those other restaurants where it's like, oh, no, that's chef, and then everyone else is just like Joe Schmo.
Right.
There's a weird ego power dynamic to that where you're kind of like, oh,
it's kind of like calling everyone boss because chef in French means boss.
Right.
Oh, I didn't.
Like, yeah.
I hate when people call me boss.
No, but
boss or buddy, I'm like,
that's what
Brennan.
it is.
It's Brennan.
But that's what it is. It's like when you, hey, all right, boss, man, you got it, boss. You know?
I think it's said with more respect.
Right.
But it's like you're in the boss business.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, it's a little different.
That's
It's like
true.
if you worked at the boss store and you called each other boss.
Right.
Yeah.
Sounds like chaos, but whatever.
But you wouldn't call your boss in an office boss. That's what I'm saying.
No.
You know, it's a weird thing
No,
to
yeah.
demand.
That's why it's cool. It's more like the military.
It's only
Yeah.
cool because it's French.
There
know
you
what I
go.
mean?
We use a lot of French words.
Right.
Yeah.
It's cooking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess
Yeah.
that's what it is. I wanted to have you guys on, like we said, to promote the show. Matt, you have been on a few times, but Daniel, tell the audience, the few thousand listeners that we do have, tell them about how you got to New York, how you got into comedy.
But this is a drinking show, right?
Yeah, we're gonna get into
Yeah, but we
Alright.
need to know who you are before
Yeah.
we see who you are drunk.
Yeah.
All right. Originally from Montreal, moved here in 2000 to study acting, and then went back home for a few years and came back to New York to do stand up full time. 2010,
So did you, before you moved here, had you gone to college? Were you like, I don't know, how do things work in Canada?
I studied at a university called McGill in Montreal, and then when I was done with that, I came to study in a conservatory called the Neighborhood Playhouse, and they teach like this really fun technique called Meisner. And then when I was done with school, one of the teachers said, "Don't be that actor that waits by the phone. Do something proactive. Get yourself out there. Don't wait. Just do something."
Yeah.
And right about that time, I was reading Robin Williams' biography.
Yeah.
And I just thought, because he started at Juilliard. I think he dropped out of Juilliard after 1 year. And he's one of my favorite, actors to watch. And I said, well, comedy, I was always like the funny guy with my friends. And I am on stage. I'm not relying on anyone. I do my own writing. And I saw the great similarities, especially after reading the biography, between, stage, comedy, and theater. And I said, let me just try it. And I did it. I did it my first show was in this it brought in a Harlem crowd. It was at a place called the Triad.
I thought you were going to say the Apollo.
No, the Triad. I played the Apollo once.
Hell yeah.
That was a different experience. But the Triad, it was scary. I was really scared because they brought in like a hood crowd. Like they were checking you for guns. And at the door,
right?
And this was so bizarre to me that I'm like one of the comics. Why would you even question?
This isn't a school.
Yeah.
Why are you checking me for guns?
And people were dressed like beautifully, like hats, plumes, suits. It was quite intimidating. And
how'd you do?
I did good for 30 seconds, and then I blacked out.
Okay.
I did not know the next line coming out of my mouth, and then it's funny because I taped it, and I started rubbing my belly without even knowing that I was just rubbing my belly, and I'm just trying to be funny for the next 2-3 minutes. I tanked so badly. I was supposed to do 5.
Yeah.
The host came on stage. After 3, I got off stage. He insulted me. He made fun of me, and then I got off stage and I stepped out of the club, and I just hunched over and I couldn't breathe because my stomach cramped up so badly. And it's funny because I only realized after watching my set, because I taped it, that my body was already warning me, like this is coming.
Yeah.
And I had no clue on stage.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh man, this is gonna hurt.
Can I tell you, I'm getting cotton mouth just listening to this story.
Oh really?
Like this is like really painful for me to listen to.
Oh yeah, it was horrible
because I've been through it so many times.
Oh yeah, so many times.
Yeah.
And I had friends who
showed up,
that showed up. So I was not only was I completely embarrassed, I had my landlord show up.
Fuck.
I had one
Your
of my
rent's going up this month, Daniel.
I had one of my best friends. I had comics from the actors from the school come see me, and that night Tracy Morgan was there.
Getting everybody pregnant.
But Tracy Morgan wasn't famous yet. He was
Oh, okay.
he was on SNL.
Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
Tracy Morgan.
I'm Brian.
But it was
what is
great.
Brian Fellow.
It was amazing because I forgot his name at that moment, I knew who he was, but he kept yelling out, "I'm motherfucking Tracy Morgan. I'm motherfucking Tracy Morgan. I'm motherfucking Tracy Morgan. I'm motherfucking Tracy."
Speaking of Meisner.
Yo, I am not. Yeah, right. Repetition, exactly. And you know what's insane is that, and I'm not even kidding. He said, "I'm motherfucking Tracy Morgan" at least like 50 times out loud, yelling it on the streets with his friends. And looking back at that moment, I realized, like, he really manifested being Tracy Morgan. Because if you're out on the street, and you start yelling out who the fuck you are,
That's who you are.
might just believe it.
Yeah.
And then, and it was so, and I had no clue I thought he was just insane. And then I went up to him before the show and I asked him for some advice. And he actually gave me some really smart, good advice. He said, if you do well, don't let it get your head. And if you do badly, roll with the punches.
Yeah.
That was his advice.
Yeah.
And I at that moment, it didn't mean anything to me. It was because everyone tells you just have fun, fun. How the fuck can you have fun when you're out there expressing your thoughts in front of a group of strangers who've never seen you, and you're standing there alone with a light?
There's not really that much fun about it.
Nothing.
It's like being in charge of a party.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then and he was up in the balcony because there's like a little balcony. It's like a little theater. It's quite beautiful, the Triad, and just getting insulted after by the host and cutting my time. Like, it's not like I got a light. He walked up on stage,
Sure,
and he said, "All right, you're
Do you
done."
remember who the host is?
No clue.
See, that's what I'm saying.
No
And now
clue.
you're
No
paid
clue.
regular
No
at the
clue.
cellar, so tell him.
But again, it's like
he didn't let it go to his head.
Right. But he, I wasn't able to, write comedy. I wasn't able to watch comedy, for 10 days. I couldn't look at anything I wrote. I said, this is not for me. There's no way I can do this. But 10 days later, exactly 10 days later, I said, if I quit, I'm just a quitter. And I'll never give it a proper chance.
Yeah.
And I said, just don't be a quitter. Just keep doing it. And the second time I did it was at the New York Comedy Club when it used to be owned by Al Martin. And I had so much fun and I had a great set.
Awesome.
But I was lucky.
Yeah.
I was lucky. And the third time I tanked. But that's how it goes. But it was just the idea of just not giving up, because whatever you start, you're gonna suck at.
Yeah.
For a long time.
10,000 hours.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. And
3 minutes a pop.
Yeah.
It's a long 10,000 hours.
And you got to want it. You got to want
Yeah.
it deep down to just give it a fair. I'm not even gonna say try, because when you say try, you're automatically setting yourself up to fail. Because it's like, I hate saying I'm gonna try. It's like,
Do or
just
do not.
Yeah,
There is no
exactly. It's like, if you give it a shot, just do it.
Yeah.
And if you fail, you fail, and it's fine. But don't try, because then your mind is half in, half out.
Yeah.
Well, you mentioned it earlier. I did want to talk about that. So you came here from Canada.
Yeah.
Canada.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask, were you
Yeah.
Speaking of drinking and everything, were you guys I have this idea of what Canada is in my head, that everyone sits around and plays hockey and drinks beer. Is that accurate or is that wrong?
Well, Canada's is.
I mean, it's a big place.
I have something to add to this. Whatever you.
Well, you want to go do?
I just want to say when I met Daniel, I was working in Montreal.
Yeah, you were in.
And I don't drink anymore. But back when
Back then.
I was accustomed to having a couple beers before I went on stage, and I would be drinking domestic beers and thinking I knew what I was drinking. but the alcohol was double
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
up
yeah,
there,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
I would be hammered getting on stage.
right
Without
right.
knowing, like, what the fuck? Like, I would be
I had
all,
2
I would
beers.
be like in over my head with drunkenness. And I'd be like, what happened?
Yeah, yeah.
So is that a common thing in Canada?
Well, listen, Canada's a lot of things. A part of me doesn't really identify with Canadian culture, even though I was born in Canada. My dad's from Peru, my mom's Polish. I was really raised by first generation, immigrants.
Yeah.
My mom came to Canada on a boat when she was 17. So I was raised by my grandmother who's Polish, surrounded by Latinos, by Polish people, and that was my family. So I never identified with, as much as I love hockey now, I never identified with that culture.
Yeah.
So Canada's a lot of things. There's I kind of see 2 sides to Canada. There's like you're really, really Canadian, or you're just like a mix of everything.
Okay.
But the first time I did comedy at the Triad, I had a glass of wine, a glass and a half, and I was so scared. I said, I need to loosen up.
Yeah.
But then I promised myself to never, ever drink before a show because I didn't want that crutch. I didn't want to rely on something to be up there on stage because that's you're setting yourself up for a trap, as an actor as well. Do you want to, a lot of actors now, like, they actually drink to play drunk. Shia LaBeouf did acid.
When he did
Charlie Countryman, I think it was called, the movie's called Charlie Countryman, where he pops acid.
Yeah.
And it's you see him high on acid.
Yeah.
Well, where
And-
you didn't want a crutch, I wanted a rascal scooter.
Yeah.
Right.
I was like, let's do this.
I was the
Yeah,
same
yeah.
way. I was the first like 5 or 10. We talked about this before,
Yeah,
but the
yeah.
first like 5 years I was doing comedy, I was hammered every time I got on
Right,
stage.
right,
Every
right,
time.
right.
I was hammered the first time I got on stage, and it didn't even affect me. That's what people don't realize. Your nerves are way
yeah,
stronger
right.
than alcohol.
And
Right.
I've talked about this before on this show with some guests about drinking before shows, and more often than not, people are like, "Yeah, the first couple times I went on stage, it didn't matter how much I drank. Like I was like still like scared."
You know what's crazy
Right.
too? I'm just realizing I drank a lot during my wedding, and as soon as it was over, I really crashed.
Did this happen?
What? Well, yeah, like I knew it happened, but I got on a bus to go to like the after party, and I crashed like really hard, whereas I didn't feel the booze at all,
Oh,
even though I
because you
was
were
drinking
so
all day.
adrenaline
Yeah,
up?
yeah.
Wow.
But back to Canada.
Yeah, but then you got to drink more to get rid of that.
Sure.
Yeah, hair of the dog.
Yeah.
Right.
Everybody knows
It's
that.
a fun
Yeah.
cycle.
Well, when did you start drinking then?
Well, listen, that's a weird thing. I never drank a lot. I love getting in that zone, but even now I'll drink maybe once a month. I'll have 2 glasses of wine. That's all it takes.
Wow.
But I'll tell you what happened. When I was younger and I would drink a little more, I remember one night I was with my friend Russell, and we went out to like a club, and I was like, when I would drink, I would smoke cigarettes. And I was chain smoking. It was the only.
Sounds so great.
It was,
It really does.
It was the
How old
first.
were you at the time? Like 19, 20?
I must have been 22.
Okay.
22 or 23, and I drank so much and I smoked so much. I went to his place. I crashed. I woke up on the floor with all my clothes, and I felt so hungover, and I felt so disgusted with my breath, my clothes. Like it reeked.
yeah, that's what I call mornings.
Yeah.
Right. And I was so. I guess I was so disgusted with myself
Yeah.
that I didn't need to quit. My body just didn't want it.
Yeah.
So, and I thought I was so lucky because it wasn't like quitting is hard.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Because it takes a decision where you're fighting your body. You're going against something you want. But to reach what I reached, and not being a smoker, and almost finishing a pack that night.
That's a lot.
And not being a smoker. I just woke up with, I don't want this.
Yeah, because
So
I am.
I was
a smoker,
lucky enough to-
and if I have more than like 3 or 4 cigarettes in like 2 hours, I'm like, I think I'm gonna die.
It kills
Right.
you.
Yeah,
It dehydrates you. It
Yeah.
kills your throat.
Yeah.
But it feels great with booze.
Oh,
It
it's
feels
so
like,
fun.
it's
When
amazing.
you're 22, drunk
yeah,
and smoking a
that
carton.
little high.
Fuck.
It's you get that little high feeling. But yeah, I was lucky enough to not want it, and but I enjoy it.
Yeah.
I never had a problem with it. So
Lucky.
yeah, I guess in that sense I am lucky because I come from a family of very heavy drinkers. Latinos.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
yeah.
of course, Latinos. My dad has a Scotch glass of wine every day. My grandfather, my uncles. It's very cultural as well.
Oh yeah. Well, it's because I come from an Eastern European family, and it's very much like you do a shot to celebrate, you do
Right.
shots to mourn, you do shots to
Right.
like when everyone gets together, and
Right.
it's like a big thing.
Exactly.
So it is interesting, like showing up at like family stuff now, and everyone's like, all right, like,
Right.
hey.
But it's also the quality of alcohol here. Because when I went to Poland and I would drink like pure like really good vodka, I felt great, but I didn't feel sick. I didn't feel hungover.
Yeah.
I felt like, what is this?
It's actually
Like it's actually it's good. It's not. I don't know what the hell they put in the vodka and wine. Even wine, there's no ingredients
no.
on a wine bottle, which is insane.
I always
when you
notice
think about that.
And in the States, there's no ingredients on beer, which is really weird because they've started using corn syrup in beer.
Oh, that's the
Are you
A lot of brands
Yeah.
use corn syrup as
That's
the sugar.
addictive. Yeah.
Well, that's why whenever I drink, I make sure to never buy American beer or wine. I'll
really?
always, I always have European.
So this is
or-
a fun fact, just for anybody who doesn't know, who's listening. Most wine isn't vegan because they use fish bones in the filtration process.
I
Little
didn't know
tiny fish
that.
bones. Yeah.
Really? In all?
And the majority of wine is not vegan because they use in the filtration process. They use little tiny fish bones.
I'm okay with it. I'm also not vegan.
Yeah, it's something. Just working in
but then
restaurants.
we need to define what vegan.
No
veganism
animal
is
products.
because-
No
because
animal products
right,
at
but
all.
because it touches a bone.
I guess. Yeah, that's
That-
something. Sometimes vegans get upset about it.
Wow.
All these
That's
fishes
crazy.
that had to die for the
Vegans
wine.
vegans get upset.
Vegans are crazy.
Whoa!
No. Vegans are like
Mentally ill.
No. I think that's even more offensive.
That was the point.
No, but some vegans, I've heard of vegan sexuals who will just have sex with other vegans.
Well, you have
and
to.
refuse to have sex
Yeah, you
with
ha-
meat eaters because apparently meat eaters smell different and they taste different than vegans.
I get what you're saying.
You know, so that to me is like you can't get intimate with someone because of what they're eating. And I do at some point understand, but like what's the interview process of this? Like when
Yeah,
you
how
would
does
at a
that
bar, like would you know
I
at
think
what
that's
point,
I think that's more of a woman judging a man. You know what I mean?
do you think so?
I think so.
Yeah, I
I
don't
think
think-
Because
women.
there are some men
I think-
vegan.
I know, but this is just,
I
I'm
know.
just guessing. I'm just guessing that this is more of an extra layer to a woman's screening process, because
Yeah, that's what it
and let's
sounds
be
like.
honest, even as a man, like if you're a vegan, you start to become disgusted with meat and meat eating. Like let's say I know a woman who's really pretty, but she eats skunks.
Yeah, you'd
I'm
be
like, I don't know if I'm gonna touch
That's
get near
gross,
this
yeah.
woman. You know,
you
it's
don't
all.
know. You don't. Oh, if she. Okay.
If I know for a fact, she's
oh,
like,
I thought-
eat skunk.
Oh,
and I'm like, I don't know if
Wait,
I'm
how
having
pretty
sex
is
with
she?
you.
How pretty is she?
Exactly.
Like she could be cute.
But it's still
Right.
It's still an extra step
Yeah,
to you having sex with this woman. You're gonna think she eats skunks, and you're a man, so you're gonna do it anyway. Now, if it's a woman looking at a man who eats skunk, she's gonna be like, no fucking way. And I think there's a connection there.
yeah.
But then there's also a social aspect to it. And listen, I admire vegans on a certain level, but I think there becomes a kind of like a more moral high ground
Yeah.
on top of that. There can be.
Well, and it's go ahead.
Yeah.
Go.
Okay. Only because it's you're the
Merge.
boss here. Chef.
Merge.
Chef.
Merge, chef, merge.
Well, I just saw this.
Nobody's gonna get that
Yeah,
reference.
yeah,
This is gonna
yeah,
come
yeah,
out
yeah,
before.
right.
Sorry, my bad.
I just saw what's interesting about because I do respect vegans as well, and I respect their
That makes two out of the three.
I respect their craziness, which is anything that you're going to be successful at, you need a level of crazy. But, you know, I think I saw this. I'm not sure. I think it was a Joe Rogan podcast where they discuss how you still kill animals to like rabbits and squirrels, and they get killed in the farming process.
Yeah, absolutely.
To
Pesticides.
right,
I mean,
exactly.
it depends on how far
So-
you want to go about what's an animal.
Right.
Insects?
So at what point do you're always going to kill at some point, at some level. So there's no such thing as if you're going to be vegan, inevitably you're also responsible for the death of animals, sadly enough. But I think that if you eat an animal to give thanks to, like, it's like that scene in Avatar when she kills that. I don't know what it was. I think it's a lion.
When she kills 3 hours? No.
With the yeah.
She kills the dog. This is the first Avatar. She kills the
Right,
dog, and
yeah,
then she says the prayer and then stabs
that
it.
to me was like
Thinking
that was
about that
so-
scene, I
so
automatically will
beautiful.
think of you. That is still like a
No, but
very
you know what I
Daniel
mean.
thing.
I remember being at McDonald's once when I first moved here, and I saw this woman pray before eating her sandwich, her burger. And I didn't know if she was giving thanks or she was saying, "Please don't kill me,"
Yeah,
like
that's
don't
true.
clog my arteries.
She's praying she has enough money to go to Five Guys next time.
Right. But that's what it is. It's like to give thanks to or to appreciate the life of the animal and not waste it. I can't throw food out.
Yeah,
So,
I won't. I refuse to.
I think that's
I will eat until I've gotten sick, and I have done that.
yeah.
I wanted to ask you, because when you moved to
Yeah.
New York, you bartended and stuff, didn't you?
Yes.
So did you? But as you've already explained to the audience, you're not really a big heavy drinker guy. So did you? Were you living that bartender lifestyle, like doing drugs and going out and partying, or like how did you? Okay.
No. I had
Were,
the morning.
were there girls dancing on the bar?
No, nothing
Coyote
like that.
Ugly style?
No, I worked the morning shift. I worked from I worked from 11 to 7.
So you dealt with all the alcoholics because they'd come in
Well,
and get drinks at 11
the-
o'clock in the morning.
Right. Well, it was a classy restaurant.
Oh,
It was
okay.
called Madison Cafe, and no longer exists. But it was a really nice crowd and sophisticated drinkers and alcoholics.
Yeah.
And very interesting people. And yeah, I would just work from 11 o'clock in the morning, and I'd leave my shift at 7. I worked twice a week, 8 days a month, and that took care of rent,
That's awesome.
of
that took
everything.
care of everything.
Yeah, it was
Because
amazing.
working in the restaurant industry as long as I have, there's two sides of it. There's the side I'm in now, which is I'm at a professional establishment. Like, people there are career restaurant employees. Like, they make 6 figures,
Right.
just waiting tables, and that's their job, and they're incredibly good at it, and they actually take it real serious. Like, they go out and they go to wine tasting so they can suggest things to guests and stuff like that. But then there's the other side. Like, when I worked for Outback, when I was 18, 19, 20, where you just wait on your tables and then you go out and get as absolutely hammered as possible.
right.
Like, it's a contest
Right.
of who can get the most fucked up.
Yeah.
So I didn't know if maybe you went through the same thing working in the restaurant industry, but you just didn't.
I didn't. I really didn't. I was just really focused on acting and my career, and I just never got into. And not to say I really enjoy a scotch. I really enjoy a couple of glasses of wine with a meal.
Yeah.
And I love.
Sounds delicious.
Yeah, I love that, being in that
Not
zone.
us. Not us anymore.
Oh, I don't
But-
drink though.
Yeah, but it.
Yeah,
I'm lucky. I'm lucky that it's never been an addiction.
Yeah.
You're
Matt,
damn right. You're lucky.
Yeah. You brought a list. What do you got on the list?
Well, I'll take you through. I've just, like, last night I just wrote down my most memorable drinking binges, and the first one that always I just kind of went in chronological order.
Okay.
Yeah. What were you gonna say?
No, I think it's hilarious. You've been on the show.
It's a whole page.
You've been on the show 4 times and you've never brought a list.
No, I know, because we're promoting my podcast now, or our podcast now. It's different. Like, before, you were lucky you got me out of the house and over to
That's
your
true.
apartment.
That's true.
Now I have a business agenda.
Now we've got stuff to work.
Funny.
What is it? Let's hear it.
So I was 19. I was in college, and I used to drink. This is a weird phenomenon in the 90s. White youth would drink 40 ounces of malt liquor.
Yeah.
Because they listened to so much hip hop music, and I was one of them. And 40s were like $2 or $3, and they got you hammered. It wasn't like drinking 3 or 4 beers. It's malt liquor. It's
Yeah,
a
so
little
it's
bit
more,
more
yeah.
nasty.
Right.
So I could take a 40, no problem. I'm also like 130 to 140 pounds at this time. And I drink the 140 in a dorm. And then I drink the second 40. And then I go to this other party and I completely black out. I don't remember anything from the party.
Yeah.
I wake up in the morning and I still got my pants on and they're wet from the knee down. And this is in like January, February on the East Coast.
Yeah.
Maybe like 300 miles south of here. So it's cold. And I don't know where my contact lenses are. And I don't remember anything. And this girl I knew said that I ordered a pizza. And when they called to say they were there, I just went like, well, all right. And I just went to bed and could never order a pizza there ever again because I stiffed them. I didn't get the pizza. This is a rare moment in my life where I'm drunk and I'd rather go to bed
Then eat.
than eat pizza.
God.
Wow.
Yeah.
I've done that before, though, just falling asleep. Putting a pizza in the oven.
Yeah.
Like a DiGiorno or like a Totino's is the ones we had in college.
Yeah.
The little pizza crackers.
Right.
You put it in the oven. You sit down. You kind of... And then you pass out.
Yeah.
And then your roommates are like, dude, you almost burnt the fucking house down again.
Right.
They also told me, eyewitnesses told me that I left the party, but then tried to get back in, and they had a security guard at the party, which is crazy.
That's nuts.
For a college party.
Yeah.
But I did this thing where I was like, I knew, like, I'm a funny guy. It wasn't because I was so drunk that I thought this was funny.
Right.
I wasn't so drunk that I thought this would work. I tried to like Shaggy from Scooby-Doo, like past the guy, like kind of sneak past the guy, like without saying anything, like, you don't see me. You don't see me.
And that's
I'm
what,
just
that's what they see the
sneaking
most.
past you. And he was so fucking angry with me.
Yeah.
Oh my
as he
God.
should be.
Of course.
This also reminds me of a kind of uneventful story, except for there's a famous person in the story.
Ooh.
I was roommates with the Surgeon General of the United States of America a couple years ago. His name is Jerome Adams, Dr. Jerome Adams.
Whenever he came on the
And
TV, I was like, man.
We went over to these old, I don't know how we knew them, these older girls' apartment on campus, and it snowed, and they're like, hey, we're going to rip down our, they were crazier than us. We're going to rip down our fucking, what do you call that? The blind over the window that comedy condos don't have. And they ripped it down, and we sledded down a hill
On the blind?
on this fucking blind.
Oh, wow.
And that was another one of those nights where I drank so much that, oh my God, I was expecting this to be funny, but now it's so sad. I woke up in my own vomit.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Oh, you could
You're like,
do
there's this
I know what you
vomit
mean. Yeah, I know what you
all
mean.
over myself, the sheets.
Yeah.
You can't, like, it was to the point where I washed it once, and it still didn't really
you
come
could-
out.
you
There
could-
was still
you
chunks
could have
everywhere.
killed yourself.
Of course. Yeah, no, this is what I'm here to tell you, people. I have drank it many times on a lethal level, mostly when I was inexperienced.
Yeah.
Mostly when I first started drinking.
That is the problem
Yeah.
is you don't know what the limit is. So
And
you'll just keep
you're
going.
not supposed to be doing it, so there's no adult there to help you.
Yeah, there's no supervision.
Right.
Have you ever
Right.
blacked out?
I never blacked out.
Only on stage.
But I think the best, right. After a glass of wine.
Goddamn professional.
But the best blackout story was, I think, Jesse Joyce. Do you know Jesse Joyce?
I do.
Comedian
Yeah.
Jesse Joyce. He writes for a lot of the Comedy Central roasts.
Yeah.
So funny, such a great guy. And he would tell this joke. I forget from what city to what city. I think he was going to Pittsburgh, if I'm not mistaken. But he drove the whole way. And he was blacked out.
Oh my
He
God.
does not remember driving.
That's terrifying.
That is
That
insane.
not obviously anything on that level, like driving through states, but I've talked about it before on this show where I've woken up and my car has been like in the driveway, like sideways.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, that's not good because the last thing I remember was getting to the bar.
Well, yeah, and I want to backtrack a little bit to my first story. I don't remember how I got home, and when I say my pants were wet from the knees down, that means I was in a pond or a fountain
That's what, yeah.
at some point.
Or someone
that I
peed
don't
on you.
remember. No, there's no way someone peed on me from my knees down, both knees. I was in a
You
fucking
walked
fountain.
somewhere, yeah.
Did you smell it?
No, I didn't smell it, but it wasn't pee because this was dry.
No, I didn't. I mean, like you didn't pee yourself. Like someone maybe peed.
I doubt someone peed perfectly
That's
from my knees down on both pant legs. I was in a creek or a fountain, which both were present on
Both of your
camp.
feet were wet. Your feet were soaking
Dude, I'm
wet.
telling you, my pants were wet from the knees down, which means I was in a. There are fountains on campus.
right.
Yeah.
Wow.
There are creeks.
But you have no idea where
in the
which
woods,
one.
and I don't know because it sounds like I was on my fucking own,
Yeah,
which is totally terrifying.
that is the
Wow.
worst.
Yeah.
Great
yeah,
story.
Yeah.
Great story.
Yeah, it's even better story if I knew what the fuck happened.
Oh man, what else do you have on there?
Oh, okay. Let's just go through
Let's
it.
go through it.
When I was 20, I drank probably like 6-7 hours. It's one of those like getting back to college. Like that first day in September
Oh,
was
my
like the
God.
best. Classes haven't started yet.
You still have like a day or two before you got anything to do.
And
Everyone's
like
back.
and like I said, I didn't drink during the summers, so my tolerance was way low, and I just got crazy hammered. And this time I woke up to puke, and I was smart enough to leave a plastic bag next to my bed,
Yeah.
and I puked in the plastic
Wow.
bag, and then my roommate saw me try, and I remember this too, trying to so stupid.
Flush
This is the
plastic
dumb
bag.
part. I've become smarter, but I'm still stupid.
Yeah.
It's like a video game where you learn step by step how to get through the game. I'm trying to flush a plastic bag down the toilet that has puke in it, which is stupid. You turn the bag
Right,
upside
right,
down
right,
and then
right,
you
right,
throw out the
right,
bag.
right.
So I can't do this. So I go out to the balcony. I'm on the 3rd floor.
No.
And I just start whipping it around.
Oh.
And I threw it, and it really went. It was a good job. It went like medieval, like warfare, like went and just hit. It hit like this. The
Campus
odds of it hitting
statue.
this path were amazing. It just went. It was
It just
so
exploded?
It was so amazing, and it was
God.
legendary. And I remember that being one of the worst hangovers. Wow. In my
Was that
life.
when you were living with Dr. Jerome Adams?
I lived with Dr. Jerome Adams and graffiti artist, Smithsonian acclaimed graffiti artist Tim Conlon.
Yeah, God.
I've had a very charmed, drunken life. This is not funny. When I was 18,
Those are my favorite.
I drank so much that I was shaking,
Yeah.
which I think I had seizures. You know,
Not-
tell me. I never looked it up because there was no internet back then.
Yeah, drinking
And-
swells your brain. So if you drink enough, especially if you take anything else or if you just drink enough, your brain will break down.
Yeah.
It'll start shaking. Like I've
Yeah.
had seizures at work. I've had
Yeah,
seizures
yeah,
at
yeah,
home. One time I had a seizure in the bathroom and so you'll black out. So you'll start to see spots and then you'll try to chase the spots and then you black out.
Okay.
And then you wake up and your whole body hurts because all your muscles tense up.
Yeah.
And one time I had this in a bathroom, not ideal place to black out and have a seizure.
At work or
No, this was at home
home.
when I had a seizure at home, but I blacked out and my head on the toilet just slammed into it.
Wow.
So I woke up and I was bleeding from my head
yeah.
and I was like aching and all cramped because I had a seizure. And I was like, oh.
and
maybe-
that wasn't the tipping point.
No, none. Like I'm looking at this, and
He's
I'm
like,
I'm
at 20, he should
horrified
stop drinking.
well,
I'm-
the bag thing,
because
that's
this
no tipping point.
this is when I wasn't a drinker.
Yeah.
Ironically, this is when I would just like
Have
drink
fun.
randomly.
Right.
I was known for not being a big drinker. This is like I'm obviously an amateur in all these
Yeah.
stories. I've woken up in the middle of a party, like in a bedroom. No real story there because I don't fucking remember it.
Wow.
That's more of my adult life.
You knew where you were.
I knew where I was.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you just like black out and then wake up and you're in a bedroom?
Yeah, all of a sudden I time traveled from like the backyard to waking up, and I stayed at the party, by the way,
Yeah.
and like kept drinking.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, I think we're really disturbing the fuck out of Daniel
Yeah,
here.
it's amazing.
I was in Oklahoma on a college gig one time, and the dean of the college really liked me, and he really liked booze. But you know how it is for a college gig. Like, you put so much preparation into it, and you travel that day, and you usually drive. You rent a car and
Yeah.
drive that day, and then you do an hour in front of kids who don't even know what the fuck stand-up comedy is exactly. They've never been to a show. They're offended by everything. Like, it's a goddamn...
It's a thing,
it's a long day.
Right.
But then the dean of the college is like, hey, it's customary to have dinner with the people that booked you when you do a college.
Right.
But this dean of this college was like, let's go get a drink at a bar. And he brought this other woman who was very attractive. And this is like the worst thing you can do to yourself is say, I'm just going to have one drink and then I'm going to bed. As soon as you say that, you just fucking signed a contract with the devil. And this guy, I mean, I hate to say it.
And this was right before the show.
This is after the show.
Okay.
He keeps me at the bar. I mean, I say he keeps me at the bar. He encourages me to stay at the bar, and I drink and drink and drink, and I'm so drunk that I'm back in my hotel room, and I dial 0 to call the hotel operator to find out when checkout is, but I get the real operator, like the operator, the phone.
Yeah.
Company,
All
which
right.
I don't even know if that's a thing anymore, but
so.
you used to be able to dial 0 and you could call the operator and you'd be like, hey, can I have the phone number for whatever? And they connect you like fucking Mad Men or something. But this is in 2007.
Right.
And I'm like, what time's checkout? And the woman's like, I don't know. This is the operator, sir. This is you've dialed the operator to the phone company. And she goes, but it's also how you call 911 in a way.
Yeah.
She goes,
It's also how you call the operator.
yeah.
At a hotel.
Right. But somehow it just goes straight to the phone company.
Right.
But it's also kind of how you dial 911.
Right.
It's another way to dial 911. Right. And the woman goes, where are you, sir? And I mean, obviously I bought a plane ticket there and I rented a car and everything. And I did a college with Oklahoma in the title. But I go, I don't know.
Wow.
She goes, you don't know where you are? I go, I don't. And I'm sitting there going, surely I must know where the fuck I am. Because I really don't feel that drunk.
Right.
You know, at this point, I'm experienced.
Yeah.
But I just go, I don't know. I'm gonna go now. And I just hung up the phone because I realized, like,
She was trying to
the
figure out
cops
what
are
was
going to be
going-
fucking coming to my door pretty soon.
God.
The guy hired me again, and I fell for it again.
Really?
In this college, 5 years later, I'm like, I'm definitely only having one drink this time.
But he did wait 5 years.
Yeah. I mean, because at this point he was like leaving, and he was like, I'm gonna get full charge back here. We had such a good time. I do the show again, and I'm like, I'm definitely only having one drink again this time.
Yeah.
Ended up, I did a rookie move where I got in someone's car and went someplace where I couldn't get back from. Rookie move.
Because then you're stuck.
And I'm stuck
wherever they bring you.
I'm stuck at like Roadhouse, right? And at one point, a fight just breaks out, and I get trampled by a fight.
Did you really?
By like 20 people brawling. And I was pissed, and I remember everybody there being like, at this point, the dean's friends are there.
Yeah.
They're like, dude, shake it off. Who gives a fuck? You got stampeded by a bunch of cowboys. That's what happens.
Baby.
Right.
And the scariest part of it was, or like the most, if you're an introvert, this is your worst nightmare, which I am. They're driving me back to the hotel at like 5 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
And the dean of the school goes, yeah, man, we're gonna fucking pick up some beers and we're gonna party at your hotel room. And I'm like, it's a weird situation where he paid for the hotel room.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, dude, no, you're not. It's fine. He's like, yeah, we are. You didn't even do that joke I like. Like, he's starting to get pissed at me. You didn't do that tearing up the stage joke, man. What the fuck? What did I pay for? And I'm like, oh my God. Fortunately, the gas station wouldn't sell them beer or whatever. And I just got in the hotel room and I was fine.
God.
But I was like really, like he really like set his hooks in me. And I know I say, oh, he encouraged me. But obviously that example is like,
You're doing this.
He had it in for me on some level. He liked me, but he wanted to push me. It was clear.
Or
It
he
was
was
totally
also pissed drunk and living through.
Whatever the
Right,
case,
right,
whatever
right.
the case was,
Wow,
I was
man.
more than encouraged. I was a
Right.
little bit manipulated.
Yeah.
Not to drink, but I didn't know what to do when I was stuck at a bar back then.
Well, that's the thing. Is like,
Yeah.
and like we were talking about earlier, is I don't know, because you're in comedy clubs a lot, and you don't. I mean, obviously, we don't drink anymore, and you're not really a big drinker. So, are you just very much like get in, do your set, get out?
I think that was my biggest mistake, man, in moving here, because I was so much about the work, and I was so much about, I came here with my wife. Well, she was my girlfriend back then, so we just had each other.
Mm-hmm.
And she wasn't working, so she was alone, and I didn't want her to be home alone, and I didn't know anyone, And I didn't know this thing about, FaceTime because,
The hang.
the hang in Montreal. FaceTime meaning when, exactly.
Yeah.
Just to explain to the audience. Just
Before cell phones, you would call being
right.
in person FaceTime.
So stage time, where I come from, we only heard of stage time, and that's all that mattered. But when I came to New York, I heard about FaceTime. I was like,
Este's real big on FaceTime.
what the hell?
Oh, okay.
I was like, what the hell is FaceTime? And FaceTime, it's just like hanging out, just showing your face over and over and over. And I wasn't about that, I think I like things to be organic, and if it's not, if I force myself to, I feel like I'm just, I don't want to be at a place that I don't want to be or I don't need to be just to get something out of it, and maybe that's the wrong attitude, but
There's an upside to that too.
Yeah, because
You are going to meet people and hang with people during that half an hour or to an hour where you're waiting to go up. And then if you do a good job on stage, that counts. And you're still going to say peace out and later on anyway. So that is, in fact, FaceTime.
Right.
And hanging out for 2-3 hours, I don't know that helps you more.
Right.
It doesn't.
Because at that
I do
point,
it all the time.
Because at that point, there's all these, there really is a lot of drinking in it, especially when you're young. And there's a lot of ideas getting passed around that don't really transfer to the next morning. We're going to write this movie.
This is a great idea.
Yeah, you call them, I don't know about that idea. Or they don't answer the phone or whatever.
Right.
Well, sometimes it'll backfire too because I don't drink, but other people around me will be drinking. And I'll book people, whether it's for the show or we'll be talking about doing an actual stand-up thing or we'll have full-on conversations, and I'll see them a day or two later and don't remember any of the conversation.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, man.
Yeah.
I'd go home, and when Savannah and I were together, I'd be like, you're never going to believe who I kicked it with for 2 hours.
Right. And that's another thing. If you don't drink and you don't smoke, and everyone does that, then you're kind of being surrounded by, things that you don't do or you want to do. And I feel like it's a little bit of, you just end up selling your soul to, I don't know. It's so tricky keeping that sense of, for lack of better word, integrity, to just do what you want to do and not do things because to get something out of someone.
Yeah.
And honestly, anything I've ever gotten out of my career was not from the hang, really. It was really from about what people saw you do on stage.
Absolutely.
And then, of course, they want to talk to you off stage to see if you check out. But if you hang out with too long, there's another thing where you hang out too long and you could easily get on someone's nerves or what have you.
Sometimes a hang is I'll do my podcast or you want to do this.
That's a much better hang.
Yeah, right.
That's what the hang has become.
Yeah.
There's
but
sometimes where I'll have conversations and I go, why are we not recording this?
Yeah, right.
This is a good...
And to be fair, most of the time we are recording these days.
Right. Yeah.
We record so much of our lives now.
So much stuff.
Yeah.
I know a comic now where they started bringing, they bought this new nice digital, nice camera.
Yeah.
And now they record before their sets.
Uh-huh.
And they're like, oh, it's behind the scenes kind of stuff. And I'm like, what are we becoming?
We are
what are we doing?
We're 5 years away from cameras on us all the time.
Right? Like a Truman Show kind of a thing.
And it's we all, I'm going to check out Brendan's life today. I'm going to check out Daniel's life today.
Yeah.
Full Charge is boring the shit out of me.
Come on, Full
How long
Charge?
is he going to stare at that blank notebook?
Right. who is it with? So yes, people are videotaping themselves sleeping live. And people are watching it.
That's nuts.
Hey, I think I know when to fucking rob this guy.
Yeah.
Right.
I've often wondered, though, because I've been told I toss and turn in my sleep a lot, so I've often wanted to videotape it just to be like, is that true?
Yeah.
Am I really, throwing punches in my sleep? My ex-fiance said I would, freak out.
Yeah.
And I never know because I just wake up and I'm in bed.
Yeah.
So that would be interesting.
I'm so old school. I'm against all of this, and it's hurt me in my career.
Yeah.
Every time a new technology came out, I'd be like, "Fuck that! I'm not doing that."
Yeah, but you know what? It may have hurt you in your career, but I think it saves you as a human.
It saved me to some degree.
But chicken or the egg?
Because eventually you get there. That's the problem. Eventually, I was always the guy who was like, I'm not going to get a smartphone. I know it's going to drive me crazy. I know when I'm on the internet, I'm crazy. And then eventually you can't really survive without it. You can, but you're not really participating in society after a certain point. And especially as someone who runs a business, you kind of got to like advertise. And I don't even do it. I do less social media than I've ever done before. And it still drives me crazy. And I know that I need to do more. Like I'm a business, I need to advertise.
Well, that's the thing too, is like we see comics constantly where you'll check, like you'll just be on social media and you go, how the fuck does this person have 150,000 followers? And then you go through their feed and it's like, oh, they post a clip every 2 days.
Yeah.
Like
or every
clockwork.
day.
Or every day.
Or multiple times a day.
Yeah, and it's like,
and then you end up living on your phone.
See, some people are already
editing.
there.
Yeah.
Some people are already there.
Yeah, and you got to edit. You got to pick what you're talking about. Know when you're going to do it. Cut it. Post it. Comment on it. It's like it's nonstop.
And then by the time you see these people stand up, it sucks.
Right.
They haven't written a single fucking joke.
Yeah. So it's I do a give and take with it. I Sunday nights I go into the computer and I'll go through old sets and I pull 2 clips that I want to use for the next week. So then Monday I post the podcast clip from this show, Ex Drinking Buddy, and then I'll post a stand-up clip between Tuesday and like Thursday, and then Friday I post another podcast thing. And like that's it. That's as much as I do.
That's good.
Because I see these people posting 2-3 clips a day, and I go, "You don't have that much material." Like
That's what I'm bugged out by.
yeah, and a lot of it is they'll do crowd work, and then it conditions audiences to be like, "Oh, well, if I go see so and so, that means I get to participate."
Yeah.
because all their clips are them doing crowd work.
So people are now getting jokes ready to go shout at a specific comedian.
Yep, and I'm like, "You guys broke all this. You broke it. It was fine.
Yeah.
and then you fucking broke it."
Yeah. But it's weird, like what you said, because you just said, "Yeah, I'm a business," but you know, you're a comic.
I know.
Yeah,
You know,
I've learned,
and now we have to change not only our livelihoods, but the perception of what we do, and it's messed up that money always takes over.
yeah.
Because you're not a business. That's just a part of who you are and what you do, but. I feel like it's like today's back in the 90s. That was the glory days,
yeah.
right?
You
Like
just had to be funny.
You just had to be funny, and you just had to get that just for laughs.
Well, here's what's really great about the 90s and before the internet was people bitch about the gatekeepers. The gatekeepers keeping me away. The gatekeepers keeping me away. But it did have an effect where you're highlighting a small amount of comedians for a small amount of time. So like you could pay attention to like 10 comedians and then there'd be the next 10 comedians and then there'd be the next 10 comedians. Now it's everybody all at once.
Time, yep.
Cat videos, psychic videos, water skiing accidents. You're competing with the entire world.
Yep.
Instead of one booker at the Tonight Show. And it might sound like, oh, that sucks. You had to impress this one guy. Yeah, but if you learned to impress this one guy, then you
could make a
you were
career
given
out
the
of it.
keys.
Yeah.
unless
to
he's
the
got
car.
a thing against you for no reason.
Then
know
you
what I
go
mean?
to fucking
Right.
Conan's booker.
Yeah.
You figure out
Unless he's got another thing against you.
whatever,
Right.
and then but eventually
I know.
eventually he needs you. You know, you're part of a community, like a physical community that
Well, there's definitely
you
pros
would
and cons,
see,
yeah.
and so I realize we can't go back to that, and I realize I have to move on. But I'm here to tell you, it was a glorious time to be a comedian.
And now the gatekeepers, people say, oh, it's great not having gatekeepers. You could just put it up on YouTube.
Yeah.
We still have gatekeepers.
Yeah.
There are still, it's just podcasts now. There
Right.
are podcasts that are more popular. There are so many people who would rather have an appearance on a Rogan or Your Mom's House or eventually The Power of How. They would much rather have that appearance because more people watch that.
Yeah.
Manifest.
Yeah, manifest, baby.
But more people watch that. More people watch that than the Tonight Show now. More people. Do you know how many people I've had on this show that have been on late night, and people are like, I don't know this person, and it's every person I've had that's been on late night.
Yeah.
Nobody knows who they are. So
no,
it's like,
because late night only gets watched online, but it gets watched less
Right.
Yeah.
than
Right.
other stuff.
but if I say, oh, this person was on Rogan, or like I was telling you last night at work when I told my manager you were going on Your Mom's House, and he's a mommy, and he was like, are you fucking kidding
I just
me?
taped an episode of Your Mom's House, and it went well. And afterwards, I was like, "Holy shit! Like this is big.
Yeah.
Like this is big. Like this is like
Oh, there. Yeah.
I'm like this is going to be like a big moment. Like I don't know if it's going to lead to anything or whatever, but like millions of people are going to see this.
Versus when you did Carson Daly.
When I did the fucking
The late
Craig
After
Ferguson show, and I had a bunch of whiskey when I did that show, just to tie it into this
Dark.
show.
There we go. Always the professional.
Nobody saw it. It was on at 1:30 in the morning. This is back when CBS would not then post it.
Yeah. Anyway.
I had to get a copy and post it myself illegally, which if they found it, they would try to take it down.
Right.
I remember I got 3 MySpace messages when I did the Craig Ferguson show. That's all.
And when this comes out in
That's
February,
all
you're
I
about
got.
to get
That's
it.
all I quote unquote got out of it.
Yeah.
And so at that point, the worlds were still separated. This is 2005.
Yeah.
And to me, seems like yesterday to, the kids that's like fucking generation ago. But it was so weird that I'm talking about 3 people liked it enough that saw it, that thought, I'm going to
reached
write
out,
this
yeah.
guy, or even knew how to do that.
Yeah. God, now.
Wild.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. Next month, when that airs, I mean, that's the point we're kind of.
Everybody's going to see it.
You're going to have a bigger bump,
and
from
everybody's
going
going to be watching it for the next like 10 years.
Yeah, it's always going to be on.
Yeah.
All right, we're out of time. Plug everything, Daniel.
Daniel
Do you know your social media? I know your social media because I've.
Tornado Tirado.
There it is.
And I just finished. I'm gonna finish working on my website this week. DanielTirado.com. Thanks so much, man.
Thanks for coming on.
Thanks so much for having me.
I'm at the Full Charge pretty much across the board. You can even Google the Full Charge.
And you are a Google.
I
fan.
am actually the Full Charge
Yeah.
out of all the people on earth.
That's not your website.
That's my website.
The
And if you could just Google the 3 words, the Full Charge, and I come up.
That he is.
I'm the Full
Yeah.
Charge. There's no other full
arr.
charges. There are many full charges, but they're not me.
The
They're not
full
the full
charge.
charge.
Right.
Thank you, everybody, for listening at BrennanTComedy.com. Brennan T Comedy on all social media. We'll talk to y'all next week.
Nice.
Boom.